This happened to me about 2 years ago when I was on a cross-country road trip with my good friend Kim. We started in the Northwest and our final destination was in Georgia. We were trying to make this trip as quickly as possible, and since it was just the two of us, we took shifts sleeping and driving. We had just passed through Laramie, Wyoming, where I got pulled over for speeding. Not much, only 10 miles over the speed limit. I apologized to the police officer and he kindly let us off the hook, since our car had no cruise control and we had a long way to go ahead. After leaving Laramie, we didn't stop for a long time, and the highway rarely cut through any towns. It was probably 3 or 4 in the morning, and the highway was deserted. Tall pines lined the 2-lane blacktop, and jagged mountains framed the starlit sky above. Kim was sleeping heavily, her chair reclined all the way down, a blanket thrown over her head. I had the radio on, but she was so exhausted she did not stir. I was trying to concentrate on the road and the quiet music on the radio to stay awake. Visibility was very limited. There were no lights on this road. Suddenly, red and blue lights flashed in my rearview mirror. I hastily looked at my speedometer, but I was diligently following the speed limit after the narrow escape from getting a ticket earlier. As a broke college student, ain't nobody got time for that. I pulled over, killed my engine, and rolled down my window. The cop car behind me appeared to be an unmarked vehicle, but it was hard to tell. Kim didn't stir as the police officer approached my window. "Ma'am," he said in a Midwestern drawl, "do you know why I pulled you over today?" "No, officer, I don't." His flashlight was pointed directly at my face, and I had to avert my eyes. I looked at the badge on his chest instead of his face. "Your plates sure are from far away. Where you headed?" The police officer in Laramie had asked the same thing. "Georgia, family emergency." "Is that so? Well, miss, you aren't in any shape to make it to Georgia from Nebraska, no siree." I frowned. Was my car breaking down? Tail lights out? In my tired haze, had I missed something vital? "I'm sorry, what's wrong?" "Here, miss, step out of the car, I can show you." He gestured with his flashlight, and the beam slanted across Kim's blanket-shrouded face. She sat up. She yawned. "What's going on?" The police officer abruptly turned, walked away, and got into his car. He flipped a U-turn and sped off in the opposite direction down the highway. Kim and I stared at each other for a moment before I started the car, rolled up the window, and sped off, with no regard for the speed limit this time. This is my personal story. This happened about 10 years ago. I went to a concert in Denver, Colorado with a few friends. I'm pretty sure it was Stained. Concerts are awesome in Denver. I've been to shows in other areas and people just stand there. It's weird. We left the Fillmore soaked in sweat and we went our separate ways. I got a burger at a drive-thru and got on the freeway. I lived about 70 miles away from Denver. About halfway home, there were semi-trucks stopped up ahead, so I stopped behind them, wondering what the hell was going on. I guess what happened was a gas truck had tipped over and spilled gas everywhere, even in the river, so nobody was allowed to drive past this point. Fuck, I thought. I was tired and ready to get into my damn bed. I backtracked to a tiny town called Idaho Springs and parked on the side of a street. I figured I would sleep for a while and go home in a few hours. I reclined my seat as far as I could, which wasn't much, and tried to sleep. It was kind of a bright night, so I ended up covering my head with a sweatshirt, because I hate light when I want to fall asleep. I dozed off and woke up to knocking. You know when you wake up and you don't know what day it is or where you are? That was happening. I was totally out of it. I pulled the sweater off of my face, and my eyes were trying to adjust. It was like 5 or 6 a.m. I looked to my left and see the barrel of a shotgun aimed at my head. Time was in slow motion. Just thinking about how fast my head would be gone made me want to throw up. He told me to keep my hands where he could see them and open the door. I did, and he pulled me out and threw me on the ground. He handcuffed me. After he checked my ID, he took the handcuffs off and let me go. It turned out that a guy who had the same truck model and color had killed his wife and kids and was on the run. The cop said that he was suspicious because I had my face covered. He was just doing his job, but it is scary as shit to have a gun in your face. Last summer, I came home to visit my parents and siblings. I usually spend my summers working for my university's housing, so I was really eager to get away from all that and spend a relaxing few months at home. My parents' house is in a decent neighborhood. Never had there been an instance of burglary or home invasion. It was pretty quiet suburbia. I would even venture to say boring on some accounts. Anyway, last summer, the air conditioning was broken at our house, and my dad was going to have a repairman come by and check it out around 2 p.m. He would leave work early to meet him. My mom and sisters were off to work and school, so I was at the house by myself. My room was upstairs. I took a nap and woke up to the sound of a door slamming around 1:30. I didn't think anything of it, because I thought it was my dad meeting the repairman a little early. I decided I'd go and join them to see what the damage was. I was eager to get the AC back because summers in Texas are awful. When I got to the second floor landing, I noticed something was off right away. It was dead silent. I heard my dad's gun cabinet open, the place where he kept his most prized guns. I thought it was strange, but my dad did love to chat and show off his things. I honestly had no clue what was going on, and then my cell phone rang in the bathroom next to my room. I was keeping it in there to charge because the outlet in my room was broken. It was my dad. He was calling to tell me that the repairman was coming at 3 instead of 2. Now, I've read where people talk about going cold all over when they're afraid, but at that exact moment I felt like I was about to throw up. I was so scared because whoever was downstairs was not my dad, and it apparently wasn't the repairman. I locked myself in the bathroom and told him what was going on. He promptly told me to call the police. I did. The operator stayed on the line with me and said the officers that would arrive had a safe word they would tell me to assure it was actually them. I sat in the dark bathroom for what seemed like ages, my heart racing. Finally, there was a soft knock on the door. The man said it was the police and gave me the safe word, and I quickly ran out to meet them, almost hyperventilating. In a flash, all of the police officers were training their guns on me. I held my hands up, freaking out, but they ushered me away from the door quickly. I didn't have time to ask questions, because the officers turned on the bathroom light. Standing in the bathtub was a man, dressed in all black, clutching a knife. He was staring right at me. He was there the entire time. Hey guys and ladies, thanks for watching. Be good to animals, even people. See ya!
Já, snemmar, bergsbus, hrish.
What, Ripley? What?